Welcome to another video where I complain about technology. So, every single chat app that exists right now sucks by a lot. There is no chat app that exists that doesn't have some massive drawback. Not a single one. Somehow, in 28 years, it's been 28 years since IRC was published, nearly 3 decades, there isn't a single chat app that doesn't suck in some way or another. And I will be talking about that. So, that started. Let me define two things. Traditional instant messenger, or instant messaging apps, and mixed media. Because these are really the two types that exist. Traditional instant messaging, think of stuff like WhatsApp, iMessage, Google Messages, traditional shit. The things you use with your coworkers or friends in real life, etc. And mixed media is harder to pinpoint to one exact definition, so I'll just give two examples to give the idea of it. Discord and Telegram, where they're not necessarily just a traditional instant messenger, but they're kind of used for like online forums or discussions, or, things like that. Anyways, I'm gonna complain about traditional instant messengers first. Although this one is a little bit cleaner, sort of. There's one option that sucks the least. Might even be good, depending on who you ask. But I'll talk about that later. So, the worst one by far that nobody should use, and that not many people use in the modern developed world, I want to say, nobody ever should use SMS. Or, actually wait, there's one other thing I need to explain. End-to-end encryption. You want this. You need this. You need your messages to be end-to-end encrypted unless you don't care at all about your privacy and security. Fortunately, with 3 notable exceptions, most apps, at least most chat systems out there that are used, have some form of encryption, SMS being one of them, and SMS being the ugliest. So, nobody should use SMS/MMS ever. That's basically, I don't think many people do use it. You'd be limited to what? Maybe, I guess, an old Android text messaging, an iPhone. I don't know. Most modern Androids come with Google Messages and come with RCS, and iPhones have iMessage, so not many people are using SMS. Anyone that is should get the hell off of it and use something like WhatsApp, which WhatsApp has its own flaws, which I'll get to in a minute. But first I'll talk about Google Messages and iMessage's flaws, because those aren't very clean either. Google Messages and iMessage. The obvious flaw is that neither of them is cross-platform. They're both just trying to lock you into some ecosystem. In Google Messages, it's Google's, and in iMessage, it'd be Apple's. So if you consume Apple exclusively, and you own nothing but Apple devices, then iMessage could just be the perfect chat app for you. But I don't think many people are like that. So, and more importantly, not everyone is a diehard Apple fan. So you kind of do want something cross-platform anyways. And Google Messages actually has this, but even worse, because it's only really good on Android, because there is no desktop Google Messages. There's Google Messages on the web, as a progressive web app you could download from your browser, but that's not really the same thing at all. So, even less points than Apple somehow for cross-platform, because at least you could use iMessage on a Mac, I think. Okay, enough of those. WhatsApp is a little better, in a sense. It's as close as it gets to cross-platform. It's mostly cross-platform. You could install it on both an iPhone and an Android, and you could even install it on Windows and Mac, and you could even just install it as a progressive web app if you're not on either of those. So, on the cross-platform aspect, WhatsApp actually does pretty well. And they even fixed a very big issue with the web version of WhatsApp, which is no calling. Now it does have calling, it supports calling, so once again, on the cross-platform aspect, WhatsApp is actually pretty decent. On the security front, WhatsApp is also pretty decent, and so is Google Messages with RCS and iMessage. Neglected to mention this, but Google Messages, iMessage, and WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. Like I said, a lot of chat apps support it, but it's pretty much mandatory in the modern day. And WhatsApp does support it. Although, WhatsApp and Google Messages have one big flaw that makes it not as private as you'd hope, despite the end-to-end encryption. I don't know how iMessage fares, because I don't know on Apple, but I do know that WhatsApp especially is notorious for collecting a ton of metadata on purpose. So, to quickly explain something, end-to-end encryption means that your messages, note, only the messages, are encrypted in this case. So the metadata would be literally everything else. So in WhatsApp's case, while Meta can't read your messages, they can read everything else. They may not read your message, but they'll know who sent it to who, when it was sent, probably even where it was sent if you gave them location permissions. Point is, they may not know your message contents, but they know literally everything else about it on purpose. There's a well-documented flaw, security flaw, and Meta, being an advertising company, has zero incentive ever to fix it. Also, a big asterisk on that end-to-end encryption. While your messages are encrypted, if you don't enable end-to-end encryption on your backups, which I'm pretty sure you have to do manually, as I don't think encrypted backups are on by default, Meta will essentially have a full plaintext copy of your message without the encryption. So that backup is functionally your message without the encryption. That's another thing to note. So now I'll get on to the clean solution for traditional instant messengers from earlier, instant messaging apps from earlier, and that is Signal, which is probably the cleanest with sort of an asterisk. It's basically just WhatsApp if it wasn't ran by Meta. I'm pretty sure it's even made by the people that founded WhatsApp originally. That is not even an exaggeration. It is quite literally just WhatsApp, but actually private and secure. It's open source, whereas everything else I've mentioned is not. It's not only the messages are end-to-end encrypted, but I think almost everything, or a lot of the metadata is end-to-end encrypted. It does a lot better on the metadata front. And it's not owned by an advertising company, it's owned by a non-profit, so there's that. And its security is literally the golden standard. I think Signal has the strongest security protocols of any communication technology, period. Needless to say, Signal is very clean, it's very robust. There's just one, maybe two asterisks that let's remember, Signal is a traditional instant messenger, or instant messaging app. And this is where that distinction that I brought up earlier becomes important. Yes, people obviously use traditional instant messaging apps, but they're not the only thing that people use. And they are most certainly not the only thing people use online. This is where mixed media chat apps like Discord and Telegram come in, and this area is a fucking mess. Actually, there's one other last traditional instant messaging app, sort of, that I want to mention, but I'll probably mention it later because it's not that good anyway. It's definitely worse than Signal. So this is where Signal's sort of flaw comes in, and it's a traditional messaging app. It can't really substitute Discord, you know? Not much can, but I'm getting into that mess in a minute. If you're not looking for a Discord substitute, it is definitely the best thing in the game. The other flaw, I'll also address it later, because there's a sort of subcategory that I'll mention way later. So, mixed media chats. The three biggest ones, the third one I'll mention later, I'm saying that a lot, but the two other ones, the two proprietary and bad ones, are Discord and Telegram. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Nobody should use Telegram ever. Discord has a reason to be used. Even if I don't like to use it, it is definitely exists for a reason. It's widely used for a reason. It provides the best user experience, bar none. There's a reason why Discord functionally has replaced forums in the modern day, which itself is also a pretty detrimental thing, but it's another topic. Discord just simply provides the best tools for moderation, provides the best user experience for someone that wants to host their own online community. It's literally as simple as that. Discord just is good for large groups of people. Not much else to say. Actually, no, they have really good media sharing capabilities, so screen share is really good on Discord. Like I said, it's just the best thing there is for online communities. The big thing to be noted with Discord, and this also applies to Telegram, is neither of these two are end-to-end encrypted. So note that Discord is really bad from a privacy and security perspective, which, to be fair, for a public online community that is functionally its own mini-forum, is not that big of a deal. But for DMs, fuck that. You should not use Discord for DMs. You really shouldn't if you could help it. Even WhatsApp would be a massive upgrade. And you should care about end-to-end encryption. This is a point that some people want to dismiss, but you absolutely should care about end-to-end encryption. There's no reason not to. Don't be... Let me paint a little scenario, especially in the case of Discord, okay? For Discord, if you don't think end-to-end encryption matters, maybe you have nothing to hide from authority figures, let me paint a much scarier scenario for you. Picture the average person, the average Discord admin, right? Probably the least kempt, most rancid-looking individual ever, and their hard drives should probably be checked, right? Do you want that individual looking at your messages? Do you want that individual jeebing in their pants at your messages? Because there's nothing stopping them from getting a fresh print of your messages and actually jeebing to it. Just saying. So scarier than law enforcement or the government, you don't want a Discord admin looking at your messages. End of story. Okay, moving on. Telegram is actually even worse than Discord. I gave Discord shit for having degenerate users, but Telegram, I think, is literally used by criminals. And more importantly, it just doesn't have a good reason to use it over Discord. There's a lot of people publishing either straight up misinformation or at least heavily exaggerating what Telegram has over Discord. It isn't end-to-end encrypted either. It has an ability to be end-to-end encrypted, but it only works in DMs. You need to enable it, and it actually just sucks for usability because it only works on one device. So, once again, Telegram is not a private messaging app. If you were to use Telegram, you probably just want to join some, like, porn Telegram server, which is quite literally the only context I've seen it being used in outside of actual illegal shit, so how about you just stay away from Telegram altogether? How about that? Okay. That's enough of Discord and Telegram's flaws. So every single app mentioned thus far has one big flaw, sort of, debatably. That's the subcategory that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to be talking about federated messaging protocols. And these are different. These are just that, protocols, because there's multiple apps for them, right? The best way to think of it is like email as a system. Because email is that. It's a system. The literal protocol being XMPP. But there's no email app. There's Gmail, there's Outlook, but there's no one email app. There's multiple implementations by multiple different entities, and this is how these ones work. So, only two, and they're both very dubious. Those ones being XMPP, which is more like a traditional instant messaging app, and Matrix, which is a lot more mixed media-like. These are both weird. First off, both of these are open source, and anyone could write an app for them, write a server for them, make a server for them, etc., whatever, good stuff. The federation point is weird. That's a sort of arguable flaw I brought up about Signal. That being that Signal is centralized, just like everything else, so if the Signal Foundation gets compromised, good luck. But at the same time, there's a lot to be argued why you wouldn't want federation, such as literally every single negative point that I'm going to list about the federated systems now, because these are far from perfect. Starting with XMPP, which I'll keep brief, it's just not very usable, full stop. Neither of these are very usable, but XMPP in particular really isn't usable compared to anything else mentioned, because for one, there is no cross-platform client. You're going to be using a different client for every single device you own. You're going to be using a different one for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, for Android, for your iPhone. every single one of these needs a different client, which is just awesome. I'm sure that won't confuse any non-technical people out there. More than that, that's not just the only thing. No. It's that these clients all have different features, so not a single one of these is even up to feature parity. And I don't think a single one of the desktop ones supports calling, which, just great. You can't even call with these. And the end-to-end encryption on XMPP is actually just not good at all. A link, if I remember to, I'll attach a link of a certain blog post diving deep into XMPP's encryption, but basically just know that it fucking sucks and it's way behind Signal's. Probably even behind WhatsApp's, if I had to guess. And now Matrix, which, like XMPP, again, they're both federated. Very different approach, though, because it's much more mixed media-like. It'd be more of a Discord competitor than a WhatsApp competitor, which is what XMPP was. Like XMPP, it has some serious usability pitfalls. Unlike XMPP, it doesn't have a problem with the client, necessarily. There is actually a cross-platform client, that being Element, which you could use on any device. And Element is developed by the same people that develop the protocol and the reference server implementation, Synapse. So far, so good. So far, a massive improvement over XMPP. It has a lot more features, because like I said, it's mixed media. That's kind of where the good things end, because ironically, it has sort of an opposite problem where almost every other client that isn't Element lacked a ton of features, so you best be sticking to Element for production use. And even worse than that, its actual usability issues fall actually fundamentally to the protocol itself. So one thing that can be noticed about Matrix is that it is slow. It is pretty damn slow. It and only Matrix has a unique ability of sometimes either not showing your messages, or not sending your messages quickly enough, not receiving messages quickly enough. The app itself could sometimes just be buggy, because I've had a thing where it'll clone a message for some reason. The thing itself could just be clunky in the first place, because sometimes if I search a message, the messages will just disappear, etc, etc. Point is, it has some weird-ass bugs, and the crazy part is that I think a lot of these are fundamental to the protocol. So it's not like just writing a better app or writing a better version of Element could fix it. A lot of these are due to the protocol. A lot of the XMPP flaws are due to the protocol in a way, because XMPP is ancient, it's pretty old, and with an ecosystem of half-baked open source projects that are barely maintained, you're gonna have to convince all of those to adopt this week's latest protocol extension to make your shit actually compete with WhatsApp, which none of them have done. And this is why I said that an app not being federated is a arguable flaw, because so far, one federated option has feature imparity. Imparity? I don't know if that's a word. One of the federated options has features all over the place, and the other one is just really fucking slow and sort of buggy. So if this is the actual cost of it being federated, I think Signal might just be the only clean option. But again, that's debatable. This could all just be a massive skill issue, and some genius 3 years from now makes the perfect protocol ever, or something. But even then, let's remember, like I said earlier, Signal is a traditional instant messenger. It's not really a mixed media chat, so it could replace WhatsApp. It can't replace Discord at all, so back to square one. Which leads to the conclusion that I said up front, which is that all of these suck. There isn't a single one that's clean. No matter how many times Discord shoots itself in the foot, or if any other app does something stupid for that matter, there's just no real super clean solution. They just all have some massive drawback. I hope that changes. I would want to see the federated ones get better in particular, because, I mean, theoretically, the potential is still there, but that's something I'd have to see. I'm not gonna buy the product of tomorrow. I'm gonna look at the product I have today, and the product I have today is not very good. But who knows? Let's hope that it all changes. Okay, that's enough. Bye-bye.